I grew up in a very enriched environment. My father was very close to visual arts. He worked a long time with Armand Vaillancourt and other artists. And so I grew up very much in that environment of being close to artists and being close to creativity and production and all these things. And I went to a fine art school when I was very young, from grade 1 to grade 8, and to another fine art school in grade 9. And so I did have an affinity already to making things. He also provided I did a whole bunch of workshops and ateliers with other artists and with other people who are studying art. So I would do that on the side as well, and I learned, a whole bunch of different techniques and stuff. I was also very close to poetry. I remember I had a phase where I would write a lot of poetry, but also read a lot of poetry and act and memorize and recite. And, I really went to an enriched school, so that was fostered. Music was very present in my life as well. When I was younger, I never really finished anything. It was very hard for me to finish because I was such a perfectionist. So if I did finish, things would always be late, and my grades were low because I needed the extra time, and I was very concerned about things being perfect. I really felt it was largely a waste of time and a waste of my time, and I guess I felt I was arrogant, and I felt like there was much more interesting experience to be had elsewhere that was, could influence my writing, and so I would seek these interesting experiences out, But luckily I've outgrown that, and I'm not so much a rebel anymore. Yeah. I felt like I could have presented part of my thesis at any moment and passed, but I wanted to present a really great exhibition and something that I could be proud of. Because the other part of my character is I really like those kind of ta-da moments, That's part of, I think, somebody who who does take so much attention into doing all the things that they're doing, that detailed attention. And so I took that opportunity to do that, and I think I had a lot of success with the exhibition. It was a very solid, strong exhibition, which resulted in the publication of a catalog a few years later and being able to sell some work. And so I think it was that. So my idea of an artist was somebody who had something to say, who wasn't afraid to say it, and who could make incredible things happen. I thought that was scary. That's why I wanted to just be a writer, I did when I was younger. I was very afraid of my own voice and to trust that what I was saying was valid, especially, as an Algonquin person who looks very white and, passes for white all the time, and who's been separated from culture and identity because of the situation, So how do you reclaim that position of cultural identity and acceptance of yourself? One has to be really careful about the activities that one takes on, because if you want to be an artist, then you have to be making art. And it's so easy to get wrapped up into, the administration of it, or trying to get other contracts and do other things, but you really have to be doing it. And maybe the artistic creation for me these days happens in my, I process it through my dreams and through continually thinking about things. But also I write everything down, or try to. And so even if, I'm here at this moment, it might have been something that I was thinking about doing 6, 7, or 8 years ago, didn't have the time, the budget, or the reason to do it at that moment. So there's all these different things that play into making art. So this particular work is from a series called Meditations on Red. And my initial process in creating these works is to kind of create small beaded works. So I'll sit in front of the television and bead. And I was thinking about ideas of blood quantum. A couple of years ago, I had an exhibition in the States, and I had to bring my own canvases and travel across the border, but I didn't want to kind of pay duty or get caught with tax or anything like that. I'd learned about Jay Treaty, and I had approached my band for a letter stating that I could cross. And in the letter, it specifically says that, my blood quantum is 50% plus. So that idea lingered of like, well, what's the plus, And it's like, it's enough to get you across the border with Jade Treaty writes. And so these are, like I said, I just bead in front of the television and I'm mixing different colors and thinking about kind of explosions or implosions or different types of ways that we think about Native people as being like apples. So like, their outside might be red like an apple, but inside they have all white values, or, the inverse, these types of ideas. And but the beading isn't enough for me. Like, the beading is my own personal reflection, my own meditation, so to speak. But what I'm really interested in is kind of like making it visible and turning it in a way into signs and signage. And so that's why I digitize it and then make macro prints. But this particular technique, I'm just beading in the round, kind of like a brick stitch. So I do it by feel. Sometimes the tension's, not right. Sometimes it becomes very kind of undulated. But that's what I like about the work, because once it's photographed, well, then you have these feelings of the depression, between the beads, or, some things aren't completely in focus. So I play with that. So you really feel the materiality and the texturality. I really like to communicate with people. So quite often in my projects, there's an implicit aspect of participation, or getting to know you. Like there's a participatory one-on-one relationship between me and the people I'm working with, and that's very life fulfilling, and it's also contributes enormously to the work in different ways. I locate myself in a very kind of ambiguous space. On one hand, definitely a Native artist, and there's so many great contemporary Native artists before me, but there's an amazing generation of contemporary Native artists behind me as well. And so kind of like that, especially in Quebec, like that really, I have this desire of really wanting to kind of uplift the contemporary practice of Native art in Quebec, and I'm dying to see, what's happening and what's going on for our people, and at the same time, I'm also, trying to create works that might appeal in a more international context, or not necessarily be only positioned in Native art. So I'm interested in materiality and these types of concerns, definitely. But trying to occupy both spaces, it's really challenging. I think my work in all is associated with my culture as a woman, as a Native woman, and I'm always thinking about that. Like, there's lots of great pieces I would love to do, but I can't do them because that's some younger guy's job. It's not my job. My job is really to, I think, pay tribute and respect to female practices, but also maybe ancestral practices, or that's the position that I'm occupying, I think. Although it's also fun to kind of mix it up and to be able to do whatever. It's hard to be a beginning artist. It's hard to be a mid-career artist. I think it's hard to be a senior artist. I think it's just hard to be an artist. But I just hope that I do this until I die. I love my life as an artist. I mean, it does have moments of difficulty. It's a very thick and thin life, and you never know when the money is coming or where, or, you can only see, you can't even see 1 month in front of you sometimes. It's really, really challenging. You just have to have a lot of confidence in life, that life will provide and that you'll be okay, and, and that's an incredible kind of determination one has to have if they want to pursue this as a career. And that's one thing that being an artist can provide, is kind of a way to kind of process one's own feelings and ideas, and to kind of surpass them. It can be, I think it's very therapeutic for each artist to be an artist, and school is necessary too. If people do have artistic sides, to do as much as they can in school and out school, and see their own process in school as an artistic process. Like, there's so many teachers are really open to different ways. Like, when I was in school, we were never able to have video essays, but people are doing it now. There's a validity in kind of personal essay, videography, and that's a valid practice. And children need to know that it's okay to have a creative side and to be able to express it, and that there's a place for them in the in society. Even though this current government is making it hard, it has huge value, which is just kind of ripples throughout society in so many ways. So it's definitely very valuable, and that children know that this is a way. It's a hard way, but it is a way, and if they are creative and determined and have something to say and have a lot of confidence in themselves, and that it's doable.